to our live stream of the day. I want to bring in today, we haven't done this in a while, and if you guys can bear with me for just a moment, um, while I'm sort of getting myself set up. Oh, you know what? I don't even have my iPad in here. We're going to kind of bounce around a little bit here. Um, I want to bring TikTok in today. We haven't had TikTok with us in a while, so I want to bring them in, and if you can just bear with me for a moment, and then I want to uh, I want to go grab my iPad so I can see who's here from Substack, and Instagram. I haven't figured you out yet. YouTube, I haven't figured you out yet, but I'm getting there. So just bear with me for a moment, guys. Let me bring TikTok in. Hang on. Okay. Hang on. Just bear with me, folks. Hang on. Okay. Okay, and there we go. I'm just bringing TikTok in, so it looks like we've got them. All right, we've got TikTok here. We've got everyone else here. If you guys can just indulge me for another 7 seconds, I need to just go grab my iPad. There's a reason I'm all out of sync this morning, and I'll explain that in a moment. Hang on, guys. Don't go away. Okay, America. I'm sorry that I walked away for a moment there. Let me bring up, if you can. I've indulged your patience already for too long, and I need to do it for another 60 seconds or so. I just have to bring the Substack stream up, and then I will be able to see who's here on Substack. I can look over here and see our TikTok community. It's been a long time, TikTok. Well, not that long, but it's been a while, TikTok, since I've brought you guys on live. So I appreciate you being here today. Okay. All right. So now I've got everything working, I think. Now, my apologies for being out of sync today. I am normally, and I know TikTok, I don't have you guys here every day, and I'll explain why in a moment. Hopefully we'll find a solution for that. But normally I'm starting at 11:15. I'm thoroughly prepped for the live, as prepped as I can be. But I live in New Jersey, and hey, Irish Eggy, how are you? I live in New Jersey, and as most of you probably know, we are buried in snow today. So I spent the first, I would say, significant portion of the morning outside trying to clear the driveway, because we have a big driveway. Little house, but a big driveway. I'm about halfway done after God knows how long being out there. So I didn't have a chance to kind of prep and everything. And then there's just a lot of stuff going on today. We've got it's good problems to have. I've got this fantastic opportunity to chat with you, find people for a good hour and a half. And then we have our live briefing in the course community a little later today. I have a course training a little later today. I've got to go over to my in-laws' house and clear their driveway. And of course, I've got posting everywhere to do. TikTok, you'll see some stuff coming out today. So, hey, mediocre mama. I would not call you mediocre. Hey, Jules, how are you? Who's over here on TikTok? We've got Akiva and Darwin and Pixel MT. How are you guys? Again, it's been a while since I've seen you guys, so it's good to see that the TikTok community. And Miss Patty Ann is here. I just want to remind everybody, because you may have missed it because it was on a weekend and at 11 a.m. Patty Ann, my wife Ritu, and I, we did a live over the weekend. It was a wellness live. Patty Ann is a therapist. My wife Ritu is also a mental health professional. It was a political wellness live. It is now currently posted on our Substack. They are remarkable mental health professionals, and God knows I need them. now with this Trump administration, and they gave us in our Sunday Live, which is posted at xenocracy.news on Substack. You can see the recording if you're struggling through this moment. Go and watch that. Not for me. I mean, look, I'm enough of a narcissist that I always like to be seen, but Patty Ann and Ritu's guidance and their actionable advice and about what to do and how to do it. You're going to come out of that 40 minutes or so with very practical tips that you can apply in this moment to both feel better, to be able to breathe through this madness, this political madness that we're living through right now, and to be able to empower yourself to come back in and join the fight for democracy and be more effective. And we're going to try to do that every 2 weeks. We'll see how it works. But that's the goal. So it's going to be a Sunday show around 11 a.m. every 2 weeks, and they'll hear. I promise I cut a lot of it out, but I need to cut more. It's going to be less of me talking and more of the experts. So it was awesome, just wonderful experience. And thank you so much, Aggie and Gamer Vet Dad. Thank you guys. So today, because there's a Yiddish word called famished, which means like I'm all over the place today. I'm not as effectively prepared as I sometimes am. Sometimes I come here, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but I'm not as effectively prepared. So I know I want to talk about today Kash Patel, because I think it's a little bit of a lighter topic that we haven't, with all the heavy, serious, catastrophic, insane, and dangerous things that this Trump administration imposes on us day in and day out. Kash Patel's, wannabe frat boy, international embarrassing stupidity, complemented with his blistering unfitness for the job of FBI director and his stunning fucking incompetence as a public servant, which is a funny thing to say when you're thinking about a goofball like Kash Patel. It's more he's a public servant in the sense that he believes the public is here to serve him. We're here to pay for him, like our taxpayer dollars, to pay for this fucking idiot to just have a party. Because that's basically, Kash has just been partying it up since he was confirmed by chicken shit GOP senators to have this job. I wanna start there and go over what transpired after the victory of the men's hockey team and Kash Patel's behavior and performance in the locker room. And hey Tina, how are you? I've gotten some pushback on Facebook about this from some of the folks that I guess are more sensitive, more in line with the sensitivities of the MAGA community. And that's fine. It's all good. And I don't know if I don't know if TikTok, if we're gonna have if there's anybody from from that community who disagrees with me, feel free to pipe in the chat, because I'm happy to hear about it. And I'm happy to sort of debate it a little bit. And if there's anybody on any of the other platforms, and again, my apologies to Instagram Live and YouTube, because I still haven't figured out how to pull the chat in yet. So we'll get there. Hang on. Let me just see if my live chat is actually working on TikTok. TikTok's been a little glitchy and I haven't been on it. So let me just put a comment in. Hang on. Okay. So, all right. So I just needed to see where the chat is, because it can be a little weird. And also TikTok, unfortunately, one more bit of housekeeping, then we're going to get to it. The folks that are on the other platforms, they can they can see me, but right next to me, they can see resources that I'm bringing. They can see websites and video and news articles. I can't bring that into TikTok, one, because I'm still currently unable to stream my TikTok live through my streaming software. I have to stream TikTok live through TikTok Live Studio. working with some folks who may be able to help me get a stream, what they call a stream key, which might make this integration possible. We'll see. And unfortunately, I can't. I find that whenever I bring what we call an asset, like a website or something, into TikTok Studio, because this TikTok Studio gives you the ability to do that, I get strikes and bans over there, and the live gets clobbered anyway. So I don't do that. So I'm going to show some video, and you've probably all seen it anyway. I'm going to show some video of Kash Patel, but my apologies to TikTok. You guys won't be able to see it. You'll probably be able to hear it through the microphone here, but you won't. You guys won't be able to see it. So let's start there. Just in case you haven't seen Kash Patel's beer drinking, and I'm not against beer, but just in case you haven't seen this imbecile in action, I want to share the video. So check it out. We'll just watch it a second time, just for your entertainment purposes. Okay. Now, so for those of you on TikTok, hang on, let me just stop the video. For those of you on TikTok who may not have seen it, right? Everybody on the other platforms has seen it now because we just streamed it. But for those of you that didn't see it, basically you've got Kash Patel, wearing a USA t-shirt, USA long sleeve tee. And again, who cares, right? I could care less, just because other FBI directors wouldn't have gone to the Olympics because they have, fucking work to do it here at home. And you would never see them out of a suit. I can, and my preference is that the FBI director should be a serious person in a suit. If an FBI director went to the Olympics, right, on her or his dime, not on taxpayer, not on a fucking private jet that we're paying for, right? And showed a patriotic enthusiasm for the team. I mean, it's not what we're used to seeing FBI directors do, right? But at the same time, who cares, right? I mean, we're in a different world. The life is more casual. Every FBI director doesn't need to be a stuffed shirt, right? But as long as the FBI director, if it were Christopher Wray, I can't imagine Christopher Wray doing that because he's a real FBI director. He's not a cosplaying jackass pretend FBI director like Kash Patel. But if he was but let's say you had a real FBI director, somebody fit for the job, somebody who didn't have a history of using having access to 2 FBI jets, and he uses them to, go on dates with his girlfriend, give his girlfriend like a ride home or some shit. Someone who isn't, who hasn't been partying on the taxpayer nickel ever since they got the job. Somebody who was qualified, somebody who, I don't know, had 30 years in the agency as a professional, as opposed to some Trump-loving fucking moron who, who doesn't know his ass from the hole in the ground. I wouldn't hire him to walk my fucking dog because I wouldn't think he's responsible enough, let alone to make this dunce the FBI director. And also, that's not just opinion. I think that's objective fact, even though it's opinionated, because, my friends, he's fucked up everything he's done, right? So again, if you didn't have an idiot, again, if the FBI director would have chosen to go to the Olympics on his own nickel and wore a USA t-shirt to be patriotic, and he wasn't a moron who when 3 migrants were shot in broad daylight by a sniper outside of a nice detention center as they were being led in shackles and killed when that happened, or 2 were killed, I think. 1 is alive still. And the FBI director wasn't the fucking idiot that wrote something like I hate ice or some shit on a fucking bullet with a Sharpie, and we could all see, and within literally an hour of the shooting, the FBI director is showing is posting evidence of which we all know you wouldn't do that if you actually were an actual, even an idiot like me, who isn't an actual law enforcement uh, person. I just, watch the news. I have the common sense to know that you don't defile a crime scene an hour after the crime happened by taking pictures of the bullets where and you can and telling us that these an anti-ice message was carved into it, and we can all see in there it was written on it in a blue Sharpie, right? We can see that. Right. So like, and then tell us that they got the guy, only an hour later to tell us they didn't have the guy. They got the guy. Oh, I'm sorry. This is him. They got the guy. We didn't have the guy. If that FBI director, the competent one, not this pathetic, feckless moron, right, was the guy who went to yes, Joe. I'm a paid protester. I get, and Joe, I do like to say, yes, I'm a guys, aren't I? TikTok folks and Substack folks, Instagram folks. I am. Am I not? I am, right? I am paid. George Soros. I am Jewish too, so why not, right? George Soros pays me hundreds of millions of dollars to do this as a form of protest, Joe. I'm really, I couldn't be wealthier from my efforts here. And Joe, I do, I do. It's been a while since I've had an opportunity to do this, so I welcome the opportunity. I want you to be concerned about Trump derangement syndrome (TDS) because it's dangerous. You can catch it. It's a digital virus as well as a physical one, and you can catch it from this live. So I don't know if you want to stick around because I've said this a million times when some of the MAGA folks come on and they say I have it because I do, and it's like COVID, but you won't wear a mask, so it's like COVID. Um, and you could catch it. I'm Antifa as well. Thank you, mediocre mom. I'm that too. And if you catch it, I want you to watch for these symptoms. Anyone who's concerned about this, anyone who's concerned, watch out for these symptoms because then you need to go and see, a Trump affiliated physician. If you can find a doctor who's very pro MAGA, you want to run as quickly as you can. If you start noticing, if you catch Trump derangement syndrome from me, if you start to notice that you're able to tell fact from fiction, right, when you see the news, that is really a dangerous sign. So you want to get on that immediately. You don't wait. It's an emergency. Secondly, if you catch yourself caring about someone else, having a little empathy for someone, irrespective, especially if that person is of color, um, go. That means you have TDS from me, and you need to you got it. You want to go quickly. Lastly, another surefire symptom of Trump derangement syndrome of the onset of Trump derangement syndrome, if you catch yourself taking responsibility for your own downfalls, for your own challenges in life. If you find maybe you don't have the job you like or the status you like or the money you like, and if you find yourself suddenly like accidentally not blaming brown people coming in from the southern border because you don't have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or you don't have enough money and you find it's not their fault, and you think that even for a second, and maybe you find yourself engaging in any kind of self-reflection, you got to get to a Trumpian ER as quickly as possible because Trump derangement syndrome is happening to you. Okay. Anyway, so we'll leave that there. Okay. But back to Kash Patel. You know what it is, guys? I'm a giver. Right? So I'm a giver, right? And I want to make, I want, whether you're on, the pro-democracy side of the argument, or you're on the Make America Great side of the argument. I want to make sure you're okay. That's why we call our community Zenocracy. Democracy is the controversial part because I know some people don't want that anymore. But Zen, we all love Zen. I mean, I know it's Asian, but we all love Zen, right? And so Zenocracy is for me to make democracy peaceful, right? So I don't want you to suffer from what I'm suffering from and what so many of us on this live are suffering from, Trump derangement syndrome, even though I know I'm too far gone, guys. I can't be helped anymore. Even if you put me in the White House with the village idiot Donald Trump for a month, and I got to eat overcooked steak and Diet Coke with him, and maybe he would even let me throw it at the walls, and you gave me some orange war paint, and I could put that on me. I dye my graying hair fake blonde, and I start talking like this. I don't think it would go away. It's too, Tina, you too, I get it. It's too far gone. It's too far gone. So anyway, and again, I know there's more. The chat is a guy, and I apologize over on TikTok. I'm not looking at the chat I have to look this way to get to the chat because my camera's over here. I'm not digging into it, and I know there's more conversation going on about this. And I will get to your comments in a second, but I think I did enough of that now. Nigeria is in there too. Mediocre Mama, her TDS is terminal. I get it. So Jack, the problem that you hate someone that much is an embarrassment. Yeah, I don't hate anyone really, and not even Trump. I dislike him profoundly, and I think he's a disgrace. But I think hate is something. I feel hate in brief moments, but as a wellness woke liberal, weirdo, I've come to learn at 57 years old, and this is the last thing I'll say about it, and then I'm going to kind of let it go. I find as a woke liberal, sometimes moderate, 57-year-old pro-democracy, TDS suffering weirdo, I've come to believe that hate destroys me first. So if I see something, like when I saw the ICE Gestapo agents unalive Renee Good and Alex Preddy, I immediately felt rage, and that was followed by hate. But then what I do is when I feel hate, I've learned I don't repress it. I talk about it. I let it out. I get it out of my system, and then I don't tolerate it anymore. Because for me, the hate, when I keep hate inside, I think it hurts me physically, especially as I'm getting older. I think my cortisol levels go up. When I feel hate, I go into fight or flight mode. This is what Patty Ann and Ritu and I were talking about during our wellness thing. When I feel hate consistently, it's like a chronic disease in a way, and I think it creates chronic disease over time. Holding on to hate. So I can honestly say, Jack, that I don't hate anyone. I might feel it for 12 minutes and allow myself to feel it. I might scream from the rafters. I might despise the behavior of someone. I find Donald Trump to be so detestable as a human being, but I also understand he's severely mentally ill as well. The country itself is as responsible for what he does for him doing it, because we put this idiot in a position to terrorize us and destroy us. But I don't hate him because I can't tolerate that, and I can't tolerate hate in my spirit, in my mind, in my body, because I think it's unhealthy for me. I think it's dangerous over the long term. Anyway, can we get back to Kash Patel, please? Mitch. So what I was saying before, guys, if Kash Patel or any other, if you had an FBI director who was a mature, responsible, competent adult who went to the Olympics on his or her own dime because they understood the sanctity and the integrity of their position, and they understood that flying there on the taxpayer dime, the optics of that would compromise them, would compromise the dignity of the office that they held, right? And that's important to me still. The dignity of an office as important as the FBI director, like the presidency, those things still matter to me, even though we've put imbeciles and buffoons and abusers and alcoholics, untreated alcoholics, and other types of people that are suffering with the disease of addiction who are incapable and unwilling to go get help. We've put them all in positions of power in the Trump administration. Um, so if you didn't have that, and you had somebody who wasn't struggling with themselves and with the position they're in, and they went there and they were patriotic and they celebrated, right? Even a dignified FBI director, no FBI director would do this, by the way, but let's say you had one. If they would have a dignified FBI director who did this, went there, saw them in the stands, cheered, remember, go in, they would go in formally, right? They would not be, they would shake the hands of the captains, they would congratulate them, they would pat the team on the back. Um, um, and then they would leave and they would let the young men celebrate their victory, right? And they wouldn't tarnish their victory because it wouldn't be about them, right? And that's why a real FBI director would never do it. Christopher Wray, James Comey. I don't remember who was before Comey, but there's never been an FBI director in modern history who would disgrace the office, to the extent that this moron has. So if you take this a step further now, and you have Kash Patel acting out now. So not only is he incapable and unwilling to meet the dignity of the moment, not only is he capable of rising to the integrity of his office and his title, right? He's got to take it a step further because Kash Patel is a loathsome, self-loathing, lonely wannabe dude, right? He's not just cosplaying as FBI director. He's cosplaying as a popular dude. I saw a post on Blue Sky that encapsulated this perfectly for me. There was this video of Kash Patel jumping up and down, drinking beer, going yeah, yeah, like a fucking imbecile, right? And by the way, I don't mean that when I talk about the hockey players. That's what you do. That's part of the experience of their victory. That's part of the celebratory nature of what they, the incredible achievement that they did. They deserve that celebration. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. No, thanks. Thank you, buddy. They deserve that celebration. They've earned it, right? Um, Kash Patel didn't earn it, and this post on Blue Sky was so perfect. You saw Kash Patel jumping around like an idiot and doing his gorilla pose and his muscle pose, and she said, "This guy thinks that they're his friends," right? There was another thing too. She's like that. I think she said that this guy thinks that they are his real friends, right? And she was making a joke about the fact of exactly what I was saying. Yeah, Najir, you look like an over-caffeinated frat boy. That he strikes me, if I'm gonna psychoanalyze him just for my own entertainment purposes, and yours, he strikes me as a pathetic guy who so desperately wants to be, all of these things that he's never going to be, right? The idiot put him in as he was when he would before he got this job, right? He was fit to be a right-wing extremist MAGA podcaster, right? Like, that's what he is, right? He's an uneducatable, and I don't mean in terms of his intellectual capacity because he's not a dumb guy and he's well educated, but in terms of common sense and reality, right? Because he's mentally unstable, but he's an uneducatable dolt when it comes to common sense and mental clarity, right? So, but he wants to pretend to be a competent, established, serious law enforcement, you know, um, officer. And he is no more competent to achieve that than you or I. I mean, if Kash Patel can be the FBI director, any of us, whether you're one of the folks on TikTok and you're part of the MAGA community, or whether you're one of and I'm not saying everybody on TikTok's part of the MAGA community. I'm just saying that from all the socials that I'm in, that's the only place where I have the MAGA community come in. Or you're one of us in the pro-democracy community. We are every single person on this live right now is more qualified to be the FBI director than Kash Patel, right? Every one of us, as unqualified and unfit as we are. So he wants that, though. He covets it, right? And he's in the job, but he's failing. But what we saw from this behavior in, with the ice hockey team, that he also desperately covets and wants to be he wants to be one of their friends, right? He's 45, right? But he clearly wants to be liked and, upheld and, one of the dudes with these, probably 17 to, I'm guessing, 23-year-olds. I mean, there might be some people, some older folks there, and maybe there's nobody as young as 17, but that's what I'm guessing the average age range is for the the players. And he doesn't even strike me as like wanting to be like, when I go to my sons, I the reason I think I'm qualified to speak about it is because I have the same shit, right? I'm just not dumb enough to and I'm too mature, as immature as I am, to act upon it. When I go to my son's um uh swim meets and his swim practices, right? Like, I want to fit in, right? I want to be the coach. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, right? But like, or better yet, when I go to my son's jujitsu classes, I watch his jujitsu class, right? I'm like, my son's been doing jujitsu. He's 10 years old. We've had him in since he's 5 years old because I've always thought it was really good. And I eventually want to study it myself, right? But like, I get in there with the other dads. It's all dads. There's only a few moms because it's a male fucking ego thing, right? So we all go. We go to my son. So all these like narcissistic, middle age like wannabe jujitsu fighter dads. We all go there, right? And we watch it, and some of them coach their kids, and they don't know what the fuck they're doing. I know better than to do that. But I want to be in, right? I want to be like, I want to be close to I want to hang out and talk to the owner of the school, the head instructor, because I'm like in with the young guys and I want to reconnect with that because I'm going through my own fucking midlife crisis, right? And that happens because I'm just as insecure as Kash Patel, right? I get it. But the difference is that I have the emotional maturity to talk about it. I'm willing to admit it and own it, which allows me to be a functional member of society where I don't humiliate myself and the people around me, and in this case, my entire country, right? Because I'm willing to do that, I'm not so self-interested that I can bring myself to think about the needs of someone else, because Cash is so desperate to be a part of the group. And he's so pathetic that he's so unable to admit that he acts like this and that he's in a midlife crisis and that he's a loser, right? That he can't take a moment to think about, well, how is this going to affect anyone else? Because, the live was restricted. Sorry, guys. The live hasn't been, the TikTok live was restricted. That hasn't happened to me in a while, but that's okay. Taylor, so your midlife crisis is buying Legos. I get it, dude. And you know what? That's a legit midlife crisis. Again, talking about, I don't do Legos because I don't have a brain for it, but my son is into Legos. They're freaking expensive. I'm looking at, I kid you not, I'm looking at the Lamborghini right now, right, that my son built, right? It's right there on the table. That's 600. How much is that Lamborghini? Like 650 or something? Yeah, he's got another one. He's got the Eiffel Tower. That's a midlife. So Taylor, if you're doing that, it's a healthy outlet. It's a good midlife crisis. You're spending a shit ton of money because I'm sure you're not doing. I'm sure you're doing 18 plus Legos. I'm sure you're not doing like the 10 to 15-year old ones, right? So good for you. That's how you express it. You want the Ewok, but I can't bring myself to spending almost 150. Yeah, I get it. All right, so you're a practical midlife crisis sufferer when it comes to Legos, right? So I get it, and I would if I was into Legos, I would do. For my son, we'll buy anything, because he's our kid, but I wouldn't be getting myself a $650 Lego set, but I would be. My brother-in-law is 62 years old. He and my sister's husband, him and my son bond over Legos, and just like you, but my brother-in-law he can't afford a Lamborghini, a Camaro. I'm dating myself now. Even a Corvette, right? A Mustang, a Porsche. So he buys all like Lego, Technic cars and some other brand that are like Legos. Jordan, you're into Legos and Harry Potter sets. Nothing wrong with that. Patty Ann, so you're both doing Legos. Patty Ann and Jordan, the thing is though, you guys are not in a midlife crisis, nor do I think you guys are suffering from, these narcissistic tendencies that I believe I share with Kash Patel. But maybe, I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. But my point is that that because Patel is so self-centered and so immature, because of that, he is incapable of thinking about anyone else. And look at what he did, right, to these young men, right? Half of the country, at minimum, and that's being conservative, despises Kash Patel because we've seen his ineptitude, his stupidity, his profound uselessness, right? So, and again, I believe I'm being conservative about suggesting that it's half the country sees Kash Patel as a threat to democracy, sees him as anti-democratic, sees him as incompetent, and sees him as simply doing whatever the village idiot Donald Trump wants him to do, right? Half of the country does not like Kash Patel. It's probably closer to 3/4. Because Kash Patel himself is such a self-centered narcissist, right? And he's so desperate for acceptance, he cannot bring himself to think about the fact that if I go in there, I want to go in and I want to jump up and down and I want to drink a beer and I want to pour the beer over my head and I want to, go, yo, bro, to the captain of the team, right? And I want to be part of American hockey, right? He can't bring himself to take a moment to think, what are the consequences for the players who are celebrating now if the world, the country sees me do this with them? And the country hates me, right? I am going to instantly turn these guys who have worked their asses off since they're probably 6 years old or younger, and this is their great Olympic moment. They may never get one again. And I am going to sully it. I'm going to shit on it, right? And ruin it by making it political, by interjecting myself into it, right? And that's disgusting. And that's the worst part of it. There's the part of it that is just an embarrassment to the country, right? There's that part that's just another humiliation, right? But we're used to that now, right? We're used to being the laughing stock of the world. Since Beth, I don't know. I didn't hear anything about it. Beth is asking, will the team really go to the State of the Union? I don't know. I mean, I hope they don't, because they will forever define themselves. They will forever tie themselves to Donald Trump and to MAGA politics, whether they know what they're getting themselves into or not. And Running Girl says they will. They're MAGA. I can't imagine every member of the team is MAGA though, but I don't know. I don't follow USA Hockey. I don't know. So if they're if that's where they are and that's where they want and that's the legacy they want, that's go for it. Enjoy yourself. Um, and there's really one other thing I think I want to say about Cash. I think that Patel. I I got a comment um, in Facebook this morning when I posted about this this morning, and the comment was, "I love that he did this, and I love that you're so angry about it." And you know, I thought about it for me. I don't usually, you could see when what's his name was here, and I kind of made fun of the TDS stuff. Like I try not to take the MAGA stuff too seriously. And again, even the folks from that community, my objective, my goal is not to just directly insult someone. It's the things that are just so over the top and ridiculous. I can make a mockery of because I think it's worthy of that. But I don't want to really hurt anybody's feelings. It's not that's not what my intent is. And I thought a minute that I was going to kind of slap back verbally, but I've also learned to get into an online pissing contest on social, especially like it doesn't benefit the brand. It doesn't my brand as a social media influencer. It doesn't negative comments do help. I'm not gonna I'm hoping to all the negative comments I can get because the algorithm still reads it as engagement, and I've learned that they help. So but call me whatever you want. But it doesn't help build my brand and it doesn't help anybody feel better. But I was wondering, why do I want to slap back at this guy? Like, what is my, it's such a minor thing. Like, why am I so immature right now that this person made this comment and I want to like hammer back rhetorically on Facebook? Doing a little bit of introspection because, like I said, as much as I'm a child, I try to be an adult, right? I don't succeed much of the time, but I try to be a grown up, so I wanted to be a little introspective about it. And I came to realize that I really do feel angry about this because they've so defiled Trump, the village idiot, by electing him as president. So first we defiled the dignity of the presidency of the United States, right? We have, by electing this idiot, we and subsequently this moron, we have taken the presidency of the United States, the title, which maybe I'm too old and naive about this, but we've taken the title of the president of the United States, which no matter who it was, no matter how I agreed or disagreed with them, I always respected the office, right? I felt like, yeah, man, I'm going to see that I'm going to meet and for every president until Donald Trump, I would have felt it was an honor to be invited to the White House and to shake hands with the president of the United States as a political, weirdo, even as a kid. I mean, politicians were never my heroes, never my heroes. But I was always into politics, and even as a young child, I knew the farthest back I can remember a president is a little bit of Gerald Ford, but I barely remember that. I can remember Jimmy Carter, and I would have been honored beyond as a like a 10-year-old or an 8-year-old or however old I was to shake Jimmy Carter's hand. As much as um, I didn't really respect Reagan as much as Republicans do as a president, it would have been an honor for me. I would still have the picture today. As much as I'm a liberal and a progressive, if I had a photo as me as a young kid, I was a tween back then, shaking Ronald Reagan's hand, it's something that I would have in a frame today, right? If as much as I found George Bush to be a war criminal to a certain extent, and I do more Cheney than Bush. As much as I found the war in Iraq abhorrent and a lie, Bush, as much as Bush was a dunce, And he was at times, right? Um, Still, if I had a picture of me shaking George Bush's hand, President of the United States, it would be hanging somewhere in my house, and it'd be something I would feel proud about. If I certainly Barack Obama, I mean, he was a remarkable president. And irrespective of the fact he was a historic president because he was the first black president, he was an incredible leader. And of course, just I would have the honor of the presidency was sustained and maintained by Barack Obama as well. Then we had the idiot, and I started to lose my respect for the office. But I never had any respect for the person from the minute the idiot came down the escalator and said, "We're Mexico is not sending us the best. They're sending the rapists. They're sending the murderers." Um, I had no respect for him as a person, and I really tried hard during the first administration. I didn't. I criticized Trump during the first administration, but I didn't refer to him as a village idiot. You can go back and check the receipts on TikTok. The videos are there. I called him President Trump sometimes. Um, I tried so hard to respect the office. And would I have ever gone to the first White House with Trump in it? No, because he's such a pig. He's such a disgrace. But the office, at least the office, had dignity, right? And then we, elected Biden, and Biden's a statesman, and he reaffirmed the dignity of the office. He pulled us out of the COVID mess. Biden made a lot of fuck ups, a lot of mistakes, but he had a lot of remarkable successes too. And his age and his communicative deficiencies as the presidency wore on him and wore on the American people, and made him unelectable again. But still, it would be, because he, of many other things, but because he restored honor and dignity, the honor that I've always known affiliated with the presidency of the United States, the greatest country on earth, the beacon of freedom for everywhere in the world. I believed in all that shit, right? I absolutely would I'd keep that picture of, if I had it, of Joe Biden, on my wall. But now we're in the second Trump administration, and that fucking idiot has been unleashed and unhinged. He's surrounded by people. It's impossible to be as dumb as he is, but he's surrounded, and it's impossible to be as mentally unstable, as crazy as he is. But he's surrounded by people who can give him a run for his money in terms of stupidity and mental instability. And we now have achieved a moment where we've allowed an idiot to completely defile not just the building and the office, literally, which he's done. The White House was his toilet, and he shat that, that gold-colored shit all over it. He turned the White House into a shithouse, into a Mar-a-Lago, wannabe Mar-a-Lago shithouse, right? And while he did this, he defiled the office. And I don't respect the office anymore, because I will again when he's out, because I want to. And when we elect a dignified, competent, fit person to replace this moron, yes, I will personally reclaim my personal respect for the office of the presidency. But now that office is pathetic. It's a fucking joke. It's the laughing stock of the world. And it's something that we as Americans need to express our First Amendment freedom to mock, make fun of, criticize, and just, be intolerant of. that disgrace. And now getting back to the Kash Patel is what has happened subsequently is every dignified office associated with the presidency of the United States is now just a toxic pile of fake, cheap, fucking plastic looking gold plated shit. It's all garbage. It's all an embarrassment. And the FBI director, and that's the reason I brought this up in terms as in reference to Kash Patel and the FBI director. The FBI director, like the attorney general, right? Like the director of the CIA, right? But especially the FBI director was a position of dignity. It was a position of strength. It was a position of, in essence, if the attorney general is the highest law enforcement officer in the country, in other words, the lead prosecutor for the country's most significant criminal and civil lawyer, the FBI director is the top cop. That is supposed to be the leader, the nation's law enforcement leader. And whatever you think about James Comey, Christopher Wray, they sustained the dignity of the office that they held, right? They wore a suit. You never saw them out of a suit. And I am not one to fucking talk about suits, right? Like, I don't care. And if Kash Patel wasn't so fucking pathetic, and he would have been the first FBI director to like dumb down, and he still wears the suit. He just looks like a little putz in it, right? He looks like a little putz in his tight fitting, he's with his big fucking eyes and his Napoleon complex, right? He just looks like a little fucking putz in his suit, right? But if he would have maintained his dignity, but he would have wanted to casual, like maybe he would have been a jacket kind of guy, right? Like a tie and jacket kind of guy or whatever, right? I'm willing to change with that. I don't want to be that's why I'm a progressive, because I'm willing to progress. I'm not a conservative where I'm afraid of change and I have to stay where things are. Never was. I don't imagine I ever will be. There are some areas where I have a little bit of conservative thinking here and there, but in terms of overall, I believe in progress. I don't believe in stagnation, right? I look at life like I look at blood flow. When blood clots, the cells die. Now that's important when you have a wound, right? You need the fucking blood to clot. So sometimes it's necessary for the blood to clot so you don't bleed out. I get it. But inside the body, a blood clot is deadly. You need the blood moving all the time. So I believe there are times to be conservative and to clot, but the vast majority of times you need to be progressive. That's just my own personal way. And I have nothing against conservatives who think the opposite way. I respect that too. I think we need that kind of balance in the world and in the country for a democracy to function. But right now, because they've so demeaned the dignity of the office, I have no respect for the FBI. The office of the director of the FBI, it's a joke. It's a clown show. It's a fucking idiot as Gamer Vet Dad, in wearing skinny pants, right? It's a fucking idiot wearing skinny pants, right? When he's, delivering at a press conference, and even a bigger jackass and idiot when he's trying to be one of the boys, partying, pouring fucking beer over his head at the Olympics, right? That's a disgrace. An FBI director now, because he's such a disgrace, I feel like, yeah, I want an FBI director who wears a suit, who comports himself with dignity, who understands and respects his office, who projects not fucking beer, right? But who projects strength, confidence, authority, moderation, right? because they have the emotional maturity to be able to tell when you have the responsibility, the power to investigate someone and potentially, place them in a position where they're charged with a crime that will take away their liberty. You have to have the common sense, basic ability to be able to be a, a moderating figure. You have to be able to look at evidence, and you have to be sort of an even keel thinker and decide what is meaningful and what is not. Did someone commit a crime? Did they not? Not a jackass moron jumping around, with his wiener in one hand and his fucking bottle of beer in the other one. I mean, it's and that's why, to get back to my point, that's why I was so exactly, Patty, and an FBI director who does his job. That's why I think I wanted to lash out, in response on Facebook to that comment, because and I'm glad I chose not to, because that doesn't help anything. But when I did my introspection and I thought about, why do I feel so upset about this? Why do I feel angry about this? I'm used to us being an international embarrassment. I get it. We're going to be traveling this summer. When we go to wherever it is that we're going, I don't want to announce it here on social, but we're going to start doing some international travel again. I don't know what people are going to say to me about our country, and I don't know what I'm going to say back, because I love, when we travel, I love talking with people and meeting people, and I don't know, we haven't traveled in a while, so I don't know how we're going to be perceived, but I know I'm embarrassed, you know, and I think I just, I covet right now, dignity and decency, and leadership. You know, we're fucking, and maybe that's what it is too. With Trump and Patel and Bondi and Todd Blanche and Tulsi Gabbard and John Ratcliffe and whatever her name is, McMahon, the Secretary of Education, and with all of these dingbats, you know, it's like we're on our own, you know? It's like the country is in a state of anarchy, and you've got pro-democracy members of Congress trying to do whatever the fuck they can to stand up as leaders to the extent that they're capable of it. And then you've got chicken shit GOP senators and crazy and pretend crazy GOP members of the House that are just running around like panicked chickens without their heads on, trying to figure out who can kiss the village idiot's crazy ass more, while they're falling down a political a toxic, unelectable political hole that they deserve to be in, because they're flushing their political futures down the toilets, which they deserve. But while all this shit is, and then you got some governors. Thankfully, here we have Mikey Sherrill. You've got Governor Newsom, you've got Governor Westmore, you've got Governor Mills, you've got Governor Pritzker. I mean, you have some governors that are taking leadership roles and trying to to be some sort of North Star for their constituency, right? But even with all that, because the upper echelons of U.S. government are just total clusterfucks of idiots like Kash Patel, pouring beer over their heads and going, right? We're rudderless. We are a country. The country is anarchical because there's no leadership. We're on our own. Alex Preddy and Renee Good were murdered. They were unalived. And there's not a damn thing any of us can do about it. Yeah, we can. We have. I don't mean that. I mean we can. And we have, and it's made a difference. We can take action, and we can make a difference. We can protest, and we can have our voices heard. And I absolutely. But I think just getting back to where my anger was at that comment was that there's this feeling, this sense that we're all on our own right now, and that's not the way America's supposed to be. And I don't know. That's all I got. Shadow Me Now. Good afternoon. Hi, Shadow Me Now. How are you? I just want to read some comments from both before we wrap the live. Flamingo, Mo, 19. I haven't seen you in a while, Flamingo. You forgot Brooke Rollins, Secretary of Agriculture. Absolutely. I mean, another ass kissing weirdo. I mean, then she wasn't she the first one to put to cover the with the building, the build whatever the agricultural building is, to put like a 50-foot fucking, you know, Kim Jong Un like image of the village idiot Donald Trump on the building to satisfy him, like that fucking orange moron. I mean, tell them you're Canadian. That's pretty funny, Flamingo. It's a good, it's a good time to be proud to be Canadian. Julie, Trump chose the least qualified people. I could not agree more. Christy, thank you. I agree. Running, my kid is also in hockey, and what I've seen is that 85 to 90% of hockey peeps are MAGA. Unfortunately, well, what can you do? You know what I mean? Eh, it is what it is. You know what I mean? It is what it is. I'm not I'm not into the hockey scene in any. I mean, I know a few kids whose parents are um who are into hockey and their parents are into hockey. They're not MAGA folks, but if that's what the community likes, whatever. I mean, I don't know what to say, but it sucks, I guess, if you're in it and you're kind of surrounded by it. So I follow hockey and I know most are MAGA. It's insane. Yeah, I don't know what to say. The real John Wick. I am proud to be an American. I am proud of our U.S. hockey team. I am proud of Donald Trump. Um, Oh, John, look. I don't have it in me to debate with you today. Um, just John and I. I've said I'm on TikTok so rarely these days that John and I do have respectful arguments. So I always appreciate. I don't agree with anything. We agree with a few things every so often. So I'm not going to hammer him. If but because we have respectful arguments, I'm able to feel better about it, right? And if you're there, John, you're there. If you're proud to be an American, I'm not. I'm not proud to be an American right now. I'm ashamed of America right now. If you're proud of our U.S. hockey team, I'm proud of what the hockey team did. I honor all of those guys for the hard work they've put in. Um, I don't give a shit what their politics are, to be honest with you. So, I have a sense of pride for for those guys for what they achieved um, as a team. I feel bad for them because half of America thinks they're shit now. But if they're okay with that, that's on them. I don't think they're shit, but I think half of America, probably more than half of America, thinks they're shit now because Cash Patel politicized the whole situation, and none of us. I would have never known that I would, and I have a little, I feel a little bit of a sour taste for them personally, because of it. But that doesn't mean I also, at my age, I've watched a lot of Olympics, and I've seen the stories of over the decades of how hard you have to work to be an Olympian, and how hard it is to win a fucking gold medal. So I honor them for that. And I leave the sour taste, the political taste there, and it doesn't mean I'm not proud of them. And I am not fucking proud of Donald Trump. He is just, he's there's nothing. And you know what, John, I'm gonna just I'm not gonna get into a debate today. I just will say this, since you shared that, I think you're lying to yourself. I don't think you're proud of Donald Trump. You're too smart for that. We've had too many discussions. We found common ground in too many places. I know you know what he is. I know you know how dumb he is. I know you know how incompetent he is. I know you know how crazy he is. So I don't think you're lying to me because you're not a liar. But I think you're lying to yourself. For whatever it's worth, that's what I think. And I'll leave it there. So anyway, I always, like I said, I always feel bad because John and I get into arguments, debates, and we come out okay. And I like leaving him there with an opinion, and I'm not like going back to like hear his rebuttal, but it's 12:20 and I have to wrap the live conveniently. So we'll agree to disagree, and I won't say that I won the argument, John. I don't know if it's a winnable one because I'm telling you how I think you feel. So that's that's maybe not fair. But anyway, guys, I got a bolt. Thank you so much for being here today. I know we didn't cover some of the heavier stuff today, but I just I don't know. I just felt like I felt like this mattered, and I wanted to invest an hour into it. So thank you for tolerating it, guys. Tomorrow, quick announcements. Please join us. I won't TikTok. I'm sorry, guys. I won't be here tomorrow on TikTok. We're only going to be doing our. You can find me on certainly on Substack. Come over to Substack. We've got an interview tomorrow with Salam Bouti. He is a Substack, YouTube, or Instagram will be live. Salam Bouti he's running for Congress. He's a primary candidate in Virginia. We're going to talk Virginia politics tomorrow. We're going to talk about his primary position, his candidacy. He wrote a piece recently on Substack about how as we choose Democratic candidates in the primaries, what kind of Democratic candidates do we want to choose? What is a progressive candidate? What do they bring to the table as opposed to an establishment Democrat, where and when you have the opportunity to do that. So we're gonna get into that, and who knows what else. Depends on what else happens politically tomorrow. Wednesday's a regular live. One-on-one Thursday are live tentatively. I don't have a confirmation on this, but Thursday, again, TikTok, please come over to Xenocracy.news, subscribe. For those of you who are at Xenocracy.news who want to come over, if you're free subscribers, thank you so much for being here. If you want to support my work a little bit further, please consider becoming a paid subscriber. It really, really helps. But it's Xenocracy.news on TikTok. The link is in the bio. But I'm tentatively confirmed with Jacob Ward. He is a long-term tech reporter. He used to work for Al Jazeera. He's been on CNN, NBC News, MS Now. He was most recently interviewed by Ali Velshi. He and I are going to be getting into some stuff that has scared the living shit out of me, and I need him to talk me off the ledge. He's going to be talking about the ICE surveillance tools and the surveillance state that ICE has been building. If we have time, we're also going to get into AI and the AI bubble. He's an expert in these areas, and it's going to be a great discussion. It's going to be at 1:00 though, instead of the normal 11:15, because he's on Pacific time, and that's the only time we can make it work. So please join us for that, and I'll let you know if it's fully confirmed. We're not fully there yet. We're both sort of waiting on some scheduling stuff. Anyway, guys, I love you. 1 minute at a time, 1 hour. Oh, hang on, let me just let TikTok know I'm here so it doesn't bounce me out, even though we're leaving. 1 minute at a time, 1 day at a time. 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time, 1 live at a time. That's how we continue to get through this. That's how we chunk our way through. That's how we get through this madness of this administration. Thank you guys for the group therapy. Thank you for the love. I'll see you in a little bit. I have to close out the platform separately. TikTok, I'm going to close you guys out first. Thank you again for being here, and much love to you guys. And I'm hoping I can figure out a way to do more lives where I'm able to integrate TikTok. So I'm working on that. See you guys soon on TikTok. And TikTok has left the building. And everyone else, thank you guys. And I'll see you soon. The recording will be up in just a little bit. Be well, everybody. Take care.